Hello everyone, this is Artful with Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be painting my bunny with a plant pot with tulips in it. I have base coated the background with a mix of phthalo blue and burnt umber. So let's start at the beginning. This is a 9x12 primed and stretched canvas. I'm going to be using several brushes today. For starters, I'm going to use a 3/4 inch flat, 1/2 inch flat, number 6 round. I have a white pencil handy just in case. Paper towels, paper plates. We're using a student grade liquid acrylic. And the colors are white, phthalo blue, burnt umber, green oxide, chrome yellow, black, and deep red. If I add any others, I will mention it, and I will also add it in the description. So this is a very simple drawing of a bunny, which starts with an egg shape. Very simple egg-shaped head, 2 ears, a little chest with arms around a very simple plant pot, and my signature big feet sticking out of the plant pot. I like, on my whimsical critters, I usually make really big feet. Anyway, I want to try to create a little bit of like an old wood look behind the bunny that is open. It's just going to be kind of like a border. So because this is already base coated, we're just going to take the wide brush and white paint. I'm going to wet the brush, touch it on my paper towel, and I'm going to grab some white, but I want to touch it on my towel too because I want it to be almost dry. So it's almost going to be like a dry brush scraping. So I'm going to put the brush on the end, and I'm just going to pull, lift, pull, lift, pull, lift, pull. Now my brush was more wet than it probably should have been, but so I'm just going to go back over parts of it. Okay, so I'm going to leave a little space, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay it down, lift it up, but I don't want the marks to be in the same spot. So I'm just going to pull a little bit, lift up on the pressure, lay it down, lift up, lay it down. Come down here, same thing here, up, down, up, down, up. Okay. And we're just going to let that sit for a minute. It almost looks like bamboo, but that's not what I'm going for, so we will be working on that. I'll lay the brush down, lift up the pressure, down. Just gonna put some up there. Drag, lay it down, lift it up, drag it. It's okay if we get some into the bunny. You kind of have to if you want your planks to look kind of vertical, okay? Whoops, I got into my red. Okay. Lay it down, lift it up, lay it down, lift it up. Just gonna do a little bit of dry brushing there. Okay, so it does look very bamboo-ish. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna kind of dry brush it here and there. Might have to come back and do a little bit of, not really antiquing, but adding in a lot of brown. Okay. What I'm going for with this design is reds and blues. Something a little different. So I'm going to grab just a little bit of the phthalo blue and some white, and I'm going to wipe it on my paper towel. And I'm going to hit a little blue in there, and then the same with some brown. just want it to be kind of dragged. A little bit of blue with brown. That's really more what I'm going for right there. So a little bit of blue and a little bit of brown. Just kind of rubbing that on there. I want it to look rustic. A little bit more color on my brush. There we go. I'm going to grab some more of that. Blue plus brown. I love Phthalo Blue mixed with burnt umber because it really warms up the blue and gives it a completely different look. Okay, so I want to soften this right here. I'm gonna, whoops, I hit my brush in the white. That was a mistake. Just gonna rub some of that off. Okay, so that's looking more like I want it to. And so what I'm going to do now is go around the bunny with some burnt umber. So I'm going to take my flat brush, wet it, touch it on my paper towel, and I'm just going to put some brown on one corner. And what I'm going to do is come in like this, and I'm going to put that corner toward my bunny to create kind of like a shadow behind him. Okay, hopefully you can see that developing. I know I get a little glare sometimes, so I'll just hold this up. Okay. Good. So turn it around. I'm going to do this all around the bunny. I've kind of lost part of the ear, but I can come in and just kind of eyeball that. You can also mix a little blue in with that brown if you'd like. And let's see, I kind of lost the ear, but I'm just going to fake it here. Okay. And I'm going to go around the rest of the bunny. So I'm using brown, and I decided to add just a little blue to it. And I'm going to put it around the bunny to separate him from the background a bit. Alright, that was fun. Okay, so here we go. We got this little guy, and I've shaded all around it. I really like the blue with the brown. So I'm going to grab just a little bit more blue and brown. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to this side too. Okay. I love it already. Can't wait to see how this develops. I have not painted this one yet. This is the first time I paint it. I drew it last week one night, and I can't wait to see how this is going to turn out with you. So, alright. Okay, we can always come back and add even more shading if we need it. Alright. So one thing that I do want to do is determine where the nose is going to be. So I want it to be a little bit lower than halfway down, and I want an upside down triangle with rounded edges like that. The inside of the ears, I'm going to use the red plus the white, and I'm just going to tap in kind of a loose center. So I'm going to take some red and some burnt umber and some white. A little bit more burnt umber. Okay, and I'm going to tap some centers into the ears. So what I'm going to do is just tap, tap. I'm okay with some of that background showing through. I want this one to be very rustic. So I'm just laying my brush down, as you can see, and I'm just loosely tapping in some pink. Well, it's deep red with burnt umber and white. And then at the very base of it, I want it to be darker. So I'm going to put more red in there. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit. I do want to work on the bunny's face. I am going to keep this in the red and blue family, so I'm going to actually paint his shoes deep red with black, and I'm going to paint the plant pot with the reds. So let's go ahead and get the shoes painted. So I'm going to take my deep red plus black, and I'm going to make this luscious burgundy color, and I'm going to go ahead and paint my little guy's shoes, and I'm going to go ahead and bring them right under the plant pot. I don't think I'm painting grass tonight. Today, I should say. All right. Okay, I like that color a lot. It's like a rusty red. Okay, so we'll let that set up. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint the plant pot. I couldn't say that. So I'm going to take some phthalo blue and some burnt umber and a little tiny bit of black, and I'm going to make a really nice dark blue. A little bit more black, a little bit more brown. I'm going to keep going till I start getting it to where I want it. A little bit more black, I think. Okay, so I'm going to paint this plant pot. And I want to keep it on the dull antique looking side today with this design. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of the black plus burnt umber, and I'm going to put it in right here under the rim and under the hands. And I'm just going to brush blend it down onto the plant pot. I'm going to go down the sides with it. And I'm just going to gently swish it in the middle to just kind of blend it a little bit. Okay. Great. I like the way that's turning out. So I'm going to dip that same brush right into some white, and I'm going to create a highlight that I'm going to put down the center of the plant pot. And I'm just going to go ahead and brush blend it And it's going to fade into the background quite a bit. Okay, so I like that. And I'm going to go ahead and paint the rim of the plant pot now. I'm going to turn it upside down for that. Okay, and I'm going to use the same mix that I made for the plant pot with white added to it, which makes it just a lighter color, lighter of the same. I'm going to call him my denim bunny, I think, because it looks very denim-y. I'm going to put some blue and brown close to the hand, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to put that in. I'm going to do the same on the other side, a little bit of brown, a little bit of blue, and I'm going to put it on the corner of the brush. And I'm going to get it in there, blend it out a little bit, wipe my brush. Okay, so I'm going to dip this brush in white, touch it on my paper towel, and come in and make some horizontal lines and do a little bit of padding. And we're going to turn it back around. And across the top of the plant pot, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put in the light blue. Now we might end up getting some green from our flowers on this plant pot, and we might have to touch it up again. Try to cover my pencil line. Okay. I'm going to rinse that brush and put it in the water, and I'm going to grab my number 6 round, and I'm just going to softly blend a little bit. Now my paint's still a little bit wet, so I'm going to have to let that set up and come back to it, but that's looking a lot like how I want it to look. I want it to be very rustic, and we're going to have to go in and put lots of highlights in this to make it look brighter. And it's all going to happen step by step. Alright, these shoes are almost dry, so I'm going to take that 1/2 inch flat that I'm rinsing out, and I'm going to take just some straight deep red, and I'm just going to come in and do a little highlight up at the top of the shoes, and that's just straight red. I'm going to do a little bit over here. Grab a little bit more phthalo blue and brown. Oops. I sure can make a mess of a plate. And I just want to come in and strengthen those shadows on the pot. Then I'm going to add a little bit of white to the blue again and reinforce the highlight. I'm going to grab a little bit more white now and touch it on my towel, and I'm going to put more highlight here in the rim of the plant pot also. Alright, I am getting a little bit of a glare. I'm trying some new lighting. Hopefully this is going to work out just fine. I need to grab more paper towels. I've already succeeded in making quite the mess. Okay. There go. Okay. Let's go ahead and start working on the fur on the bunny. So what I want to do is create fur. The arms are set behind the bunny, so I need the arms to stay dark where they touch the belly. So I'm going to be leaving a lot of that background showing. Then I'll create the belly over that. And I'm going to do the same with the ears, leaving some dark of the background showing, and then the face. So let's see how this works up. We're going to go slowly, step by step. I'm going to start, let's start with the ears. So I want the hairs to overlap each other. I'm going to start from the bottom of the ears up, which means that I'm going to turn it upside down. Okay? And I'm going to grab some white paint. Here we go. I'm going to wet my brush a little, get some white paint. It has a little bit of pink in it, a little bit of red. And I'm going to start brushing the hairs on the ears. So I'm going to start at the base of the ear. And I'm going to angle it upward. And I'm going to let those hairs come out onto the background. I'm going to leave this little dark area between the pink and the white. I'm going to do the same on this side. And one ear is going to end up being a little bit in front of the other because I made them kind of close together. Keep getting more white on my brush. We're going to start slow and we're going to keep coming in. We're going to add more and more. Okay, I had to wipe some of that off. Okay, so we're going to start here. So we had our hairs over here, and we're going to make some over here. So I don't want to touch the pink and red, I just want to go near it. And I'm going to turn this way. And do a little bit of the same where I'm just pulling the hairs. Let's turn that right side up and take a look. Okay, so that's a cute beginning. We're going to be layering a lot into that. So for the face, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start at the outside and we're going to come in. So what I'm going to do is just start pulling this way. And I'm going to make the hairs go in the direction that I imagine they would be growing. I'm going to make him really silly. So I'd imagine that they grow this way, that they grow up. I keep reloading my brush with white off camera. And I'm going to make them go outward. Remember, we'll have some eyes somewhere in this vicinity. You can actually make some of these longer and they'd end up being the whiskers. So I just did that on this side and ended up making whiskers out of them. Try to leave the area around the nose darker. We'll probably have to come back and shade around that nose like I do sometimes. I'm not going much into the chest. We're going to add a mouth later. Okay, so let's make some of those bits of fur come out like we did here to make whiskers. So we're just going to go ahead and pull some of those pieces of fur further out, and we're going to create our whiskers. Maybe one more here to make it kind of even with the other side. And let's see. I sure made that one pretty long, so I'm going to make this one longer and maybe one more up there. Okay, cute. All right, that's step one. We're going to go back over that several times, most likely. So I want to get the belly done. And think about it, we want to keep it dark here because the arms are toward the back. So I'm actually going to start with the arms then and try to leave some shadow, which we might have to go back in and put shadow back in again. So let me turn it upside down. I'm going to start here on the hand, and I'm going to pull the fur the way I imagine it would grow around the hand. So I'm going to wet my brush a little bit, get some more white, and I'm just going to pull some hairs like that, and I'm going to make them curl around. And he has a little thumb, so we'll come in and we'll shape it some more too as we go. Okay, now the arm. Draw your little pieces of fur the way they would grow. So you're going to draw it in up toward the circle, the shoulder. Okay. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to pull the fur around. And turn your canvas around different ways. Whatever way makes more sense for you to see the direction of the hairs and be able to pull your brush in the right direction. Make yourself comfortable. Okay, so I do want to leave it dark in here. So I'm going to try not to make the hairs go too close to the belly, and that will make more sense as we get in that area. Okay, so that's a good start. Okay. I'm going to go back to the ears. I want to save the belly right now because I have to put some more shading in here before we do the belly. So let's take a look. We have his shoes. I like the way the red highlights look, but they kind of faded, so we'll be coming back to that. It's going to be cute. It's really the look that I was kind of envisioning in my head when I designed him. So I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to put more layers on the ears, brightening up the fur and still leaving a lot of the dark area showing. We need the light against the dark, or the dark with the light, however you want to look at it, to create our dimension. Okay, and hopefully you can see that this one is brighter. So we're going to continue, and I'm going to pull this side out, and this side out. Okay. So see how much brighter they are than the face at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work on the bunny's face some more by adding more furry strokes, trying to keep some of that darker color in there, but making the fur look more dense. Now I think it'll be really cute if we let a lot of hairs come out a little bit crazy here and there. I do want to leave that darkness around the nose, but if we have to put it back in, that's okay. Oh my goodness, I'm loving this little guy. I don't want to get too much of these hairs done because they're going to go over the belly after, so I'm going to leave the bottom of the chin area kind of alone for now. Turn it and continue. So I'm using a lot of paint on the brush, but I'm trying to keep it up on the tip of the brush so that I can apply a heavy amount without pressing much, because I want to keep the background hairs, the background color showing. Okay, so we're going to keep coming around. Now let's see. Kind of want to close the gap here. So I need some longer hairs. Oops, that one got a little heavy. That's okay. We need it to be a little bit bright white in there to get some eyes in there that will show. Okay, he's cute. Okay, so let's work. I'm going to put some more outside feathers on his arms, but not close to the belly, because I want to go in and make it darker there. Isn't this fun? I think it's so much fun. Okay. Do this side. Very, very light touch. Lots of paint on the brush and a very light touch, so you don't have to apply a lot of pressure to encourage that paint to come off and onto your canvas. And give them a little thumb, sort of a little thumb shape there. And I'll do the same here. I'm going to give them a little thumb shape. Okay, it's looking cute. I'm going to continue to brighten the fur. You can't do it in one fell swoop, because if you try to create this fur with thick brush strokes all at the beginning, you're not going to get as much dimension as you are if you layer it. Every time you layer, let some of the darker undercolors show. Okay. All right, let's take a look. Looking pretty cute. Let's add a little bit more to where I created sort of a thumb look. Okay. All right, so we're going to work on the tummy. But I'm going to get a little bit of the brown, the burnt umber, and I'm going to put some darkness back in here. So I'm going to use burnt umber plus a little bit of black and get a little bit more darkness in there. I need more black. So I'm giving it a little bit of a feathery look. That should help us when we put our tummy in. Okay, I want to put a little bit of darkness under the chin too while we're at it. Okay. I'm also going to want to encourage that pencil to disappear. There. Alright, so I'm going to put some fur on the belly, and I'm going to start as though it grows up. We could do it from the chin down, or we could do it from the plant pot up. I'm going to go from the chin down, I decided. Now that brown is still a little bit wet, which is great because it's doing some blending. And then that's going to be a little bit darker under the chin, which is good. Now it's okay to let some of the bunny's fur spill over the plant pot a little bit because he's very furry. Okay, I like it. I'm going to brighten. As this dries under here, we'll be able to go in and brighten that. Okay. I want to work on the inside of the ears a little bit. I think I want to turn that into some furry looking strokes also. So I'm going to use some white and some red and some burnt umber to create kind of a soft antique-y looking pink. So I'm just mixing. All right. So I'm going to turn him upside down. And I'm just going to pull some little hairs inside there. Kind of like hairs, but just a little bit more strokey. A little more brush strokey looking. There, I like the way that looks a little more natural, where it meets the white. So we can kind of pull some of it in a little bit of a jagged motion like that, and then it makes it look like the fur is just kind of around that part of the ear. I like that a lot better. So we're going to do that over here also. And I am leaving it on the deep side because this is more of an antique-y looking design. But I'm going to come and put some lighter hairs in here too. Okay, I like that a lot too. It's always a surprise. Always fun to play with paint and see what we can create. Alright, so let's turn them around. I like that a lot. It's developing very nicely. Okay, I'm going to rinse that brush a little bit. I'm going to take this white pencil line away here. And I want to put a little more highlight on the shoes because the red has faded into the background. So I'm going to take a little bit more red. Just going to highlight the shoe. A bit more straight red. Cute, cute, cute. All right, let's get some black at the bottom of those shoes. Let's get some red and black and mix that together. And then down at the bottom, I'm going to make it a little bit darker. And flip them right side up again. I do turn it around a lot. It's just that it's so much easier, especially if you're doing a little canvas, to just be able to turn it around and get your brush coming in from an angle that just makes sense for your hand. Okay, so that's good. I like that a lot. We've got our highlights, which are going to dry, and then I'll tap in a little bit of white later. Okay. So I'm not sure if I want to leave it quite that dark around the nose, but we are going to figure that one out right now. I'm going to take that same color from the inner ears, and I'm going to paint that little nose. So I'm going to paint over the pencil line, which is going to make the nose just a little bit bigger. I have to turn it around. There's a lot of texture in this canvas. I'm adding a little bit more red there. Let's turn it upside down. Get some red in there. Just kind of tapping a little. And then I'm going to take just a little bit of white on that same brush right here, and I'm just going to pat a little white on it. It's going to fade quite a bit. Okay, so that is looking a lot like I want it to. Couple things I want to do. I want to brighten the tummy up maybe just a little bit on the outside edges where it comes close to the arm. In the middle, I'm not going to brighten it very much. And I want to work on the arm fur a little bit more. More, make some hairs come out on the hand a little bit. You can just keep on adding little bits of hairy fur until your heart's content. Okay. I'm going to be adding some fun tulips. Okay. So my vision is for some kind of funky tulips out here with some bright green leaves that come out of this plant pot. So I'm going to begin with the tulips, and what I'm going to do is mix some red and a little black to get a really deep burgundy color. And I'm going to do a very quick background tulip, like so. Not really tulips, but they might be chrysanthemums, whatever you envision them as being. You know, I'm going to get a smaller flat brush, and I'll add it to the description. So I decided to grab a 1/4 inch brush because I want some of my tulips a little bit smaller. So I'm envisioning maybe another tall one right there. So I'm going to grab some more of my red plus black. I need more paint on my brush. I'm okay with that being dark because we're going to put some strokes over it. Okay. I need to move a couple paints here. Bear with me for a moment. All right. And then, let's see, maybe just a couple smaller ones here in front of the bunny. So I'm going to grab some more red plus black. And I think I'm going to put a little one right over here in front of the bunny. Okay. I want some of that darker color in these too. All right, I think I'm just gonna have those 3, and then I might just have a little one coming out of this hand. So if it was coming out of this hand, I would probably turn it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and make my brush strokes go that way. Okay, I like it, I like it. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so now, while that red sets up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and make some stems. And I want to make them pretty vivid. So I'm going to take my green, a whole bunch of yellow, and just a little bit of green. The green takes over really fast. I'm going to grab a little white. Okay, so I'm going to make some stems that are going to just come down. And this one I'm going to stop at that tulip and come through. Okay. And then this one's going to have a stem, and so is this one. It's just going to come in. Okay. So I want to create some leaves, and I want them to be fairly bright. This is Whimsy. I don't really know what kind of flower this is, and I'm not really concerned about making realistic leaves. I just want to have fun. So let's see. I'm going to make a piece of stem that comes off of this and comes out there. And I'm going to make a couple of leaves on it. I'm going to give you a close-up. Super excited about this little bunny. And that might be all the leaves I want, but I'm going to put a little bit more yellow. Just some straight yellow here and there, and then I'll come back with some white once we get the rest of the tulips or whatever they are in there. And let's see, if he was holding this, I'd envision it would be coming from behind his thumb, and we're just going to go that way. Grab a little bit of white. Some yellow, and let's make some nice leaves. We can put a little bit of grass across the plant pot if you want, but I like the way the fur looks so much I don't really want to cover that completely. And I'm going to add a few pieces of grass coming up and out. And I'm going to highlight that also. So I am really loving this little guy. Let's take a look. All right. We're going to leave this alone for now. I'm anxious to get the eyes in there. So one of the things that we have to do is I had not finished the hairs on the bottom of the face because I know they're going to go into the chest a little bit, and I wanted to make sure the chest was good. So I'm going to grab some white. Again, I'm going back to my round brush with a point. I'm going to tip this a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and bring some of those hairs randomly over that neck. Hopefully you can see that that makes a bit of a difference on the video. And some random long hairs here and there. Okay, so that kind of softened the neckline a little bit. I like that. I'm going to add some more fur on the arm and kind of soften that spiral that I have going there. Okay. Same thing here. I'm going to soften that spiral effect. Okay. Super cute. Let's get some loose hairs out and about. I want his hands to be a little bit less condensed. I want some loose hairs on this bunny. Okay, I like that better. So keep working the hairs, you know, use a very light touch and just keep adding layers. Okay, if you put too much on at one time, you're going to lose your dimension. All right. Put a little bit of brightness here on the chest. Okay. Now we're going to do a couple things here. I'm going to take the 1/2-inch flat brush. I'm going to put another highlight on the shoe again with red. And every time it dries, it should dry just a little bit brighter. I don't really want to put a lot of white highlight on it, and I certainly don't want to turn it pink. All right. So now we're going to go back to that smaller flat brush, the 1/4 inch. And we are going to create some more strokes in the flowers. So what I'm going to do is move some of this. I'm a little bit messy when I paint. I'm going to tip this a little bit to give you a good angle. And I'm going to use just bright red now. And I'm going to come in and make some other strokes on top of the background. So that's going to create like a brighter petal. And I do want to leave my darker petals from the back showing. Okay, I keep getting a little bit more red on my brush, and I'm going to come in and leave some of that dark and some light, and I'm going to do this little side one here. Let some of that darker color show in the back. Now I think that if we add some orange, it's going to look even more amazing, and I'm just going to make that with my red and yellow. But right now I want to look at this and I want to decide. Like I said, I wanted him like against an old piece of wood, and I really like the way it looks, so I don't really want to add a bunch of grass because I don't want him to really be standing in the grass. But I might bring a few leaves down on a foot, but I'm starting to feel like I want to put a heart on it also. Let's go ahead and give this little bunny some eyes. So I'm going to use the tip of my pencil and some black paint. Wish me luck. I'm going to grab some black, and I'm just going to put the brush down, and I'm going to wiggle it in an oval shape. And I'm going to do the same thing for the other eye. And So I like that a lot. We're going to let that dry. I am going to put some hairs a little bit closer to the nose also in a little bit. Alright. I like to keep moving around to different areas so one area can be drying while I show you another area. I want, too bad most of my darker blue with the brown in it is dried. I want to make some more highlight color for my plant pot. I'm going to go back to the bigger brush, the bigger flat for that, so I can really blend it in. I like that. I want it to look a little bit messy and rustic. And then I want to do a little bit more up in here again. I want it a little bit lighter. So I'm laying a lot of light blue in there, and I'm going to take the bigger brush to just kind of pat it and blend it in. Okay, I like it a lot. The eyes have to be dry before I can go and mess with the nose area. So let's add some orange to the flowers. And I'm going to take the tiny flat brush again. And I'm going to take some red. I'm going to take some yellow. Lots of yellow. I want to make an orange color. Okay. You can also just use chrome orange if you have it. And what I'm going to do is come in and I'm going to highlight a little bit of these strokes with a little bit of that color. So I like that a lot. And when it's up on the wall, you do need that contrast to be able to really have a lot of shape. So I really like the orange on it a lot. I'm hoping that you can see it well. I'll grab a little bit more. Just going to hit the front petals with a little bit of it. I'm going to leave the back petals a little darker. We want to give this dimension. Alright. Okay, I'm hoping that the eyes are still a little wet, but I'm going to take a little bit of white anyway. And I'm going to put some hairs closer to the nose. Just using a little bit of paint and a fine touch. Just leave that darkness though around the nose. Just I want some of the hairs to come in a little bit closer. Alright. Let's get some of that red. The darker red, and let's go ahead and shadow the bottom of that nose again. I'm going to pull it out a little bit into the brown area. Okay, so I like that. His eyes are a little bit bigger than I probably really wanted them, but he's okay. Once it's dry, we're going to add some white highlights there. Now, it's up to you if you want to go ahead and add a mouth. I think I'm going to just maybe put a little line coming down, and then I'll see how I like that. So I'm going to take my black, and I'm just going to make a curved line coming down from the nose. So I'm going to put my brush on the point and just come and make a little curved line. There, I like that expression. The eyes aren't quite dry, so I don't want to stick a highlight in it yet. Basically, I'm going to take a look and decide what else. I want a heart on this, and I'm thinking down here on the plant pot. So let's grab the pencil, and I'm going to do a heart. I like to do them with one side way higher than the other. And I'm going to paint that in the darker red, which means it's red plus a little bit of black or a little bit of burnt umber. And I'm just going to paint that in. My goodness, I really like this little bunny. It's so much fun to see it come from a pencil drawing, you know, to an actual painting. And like I said, this one I haven't painted before. I just drew it. And I had a concept for what I thought I wanted to see, but you never know if it's going to turn out the way you are thinking about it in your head. So I'm pretty happy with this little guy. So I want to take some bright red like I did on the shoe, and I just want to come in and pat bright red up at the top of this heart. And maybe just a little bit of that orange too while I'm at it. That's the orange that we made for the tulips. And take the tiniest bit of white because it's really going to disappear when it dries. A little bit of white there. And I want to put some black down in the point. I'm going to take a little bit of black and I'm going to get it right here down in the point. Going to blend it out a little bit. Okay, so there we are. There's our heart. Our bunny face, his ears. And the flowers could use even a little bit more brightening. Let's tip it this way so you can see better. Alright, let's get some highlights on those eyes. I think they're dry enough now. And I'm going to use the pencil tip. I'm going to dip in the white. And I'm going to put a little dot over to the right. And then I'm going to go to the left eye and I'm going to put a dot to the upper right again there. And that helps. Putting that little highlight in there helps a lot. Okay, so I think I want to add a little bit of baby's breath. You can use a flat scruffy brush, or if you have a brush like this, like a boar's bristle brush that's kind of worn out, that will work also. I just want to add a little bit more brightness up around the flowers. So I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to dip it in my white. I want to have enough on it that I don't have to put a lot of pressure on it to get the paint to come off. And what I'm going to do is just gently tap the brush, very gently. I want to make it look like there's little clusters here and there in with the flowers. very, very light, but it does add a lot of brightness. I'm gonna put some here in with the grass. And over here with this little one. Okay, I think I'm going to leave the shoes and everything the way it is, and I'm not going to add any grass down at the bottom. And if it's dry, there's one other thing that I think it's calling for, and I would like to sand the edges ever so gently. So I have a piece of sandpaper here, and I will add this to the supplies in the description. But here goes nothing. I'm going to just lightly sand. You don't want to sand too hard and fray your canvas. I just want it to be a little bit rustic. So I'm going to tip this, so hopefully you can get a good visual of that. And I'm going to sand and go around the corner. Again, very light touch. You might want to try this on an old canvas before you do it, because the corners will wear out very quickly, so you have to be very careful if you decide to do this. I'm just using a very fine sandpaper. I don't even know what grit it is. It's a very, very fine one. You can see how fine it is. I like that a lot. It adds a little bit of character to it. I'm going to put a little bit on the front surface, just a little. I know it takes a lot of courage to be able to take a piece of sandpaper to something that you just spent a couple hours painting. Alright, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my little brush and I'm going to put my initials on this, and I'm going to take some blue and white and some burnt umber, and I'm going to make a nice smoky light blue. And over in the corner I'm going to put my initials, MM. Alright, here we go. I'm going to give you a close-up again. This is our bunny. So it is all done. This tutorial is finished. I love this little guy, and I hope you do too, and you paint yourself a really cute one. And it would be great if you like this video. Go ahead and hit the like button, and you can subscribe to my channel so you can get updates on all my upcoming whimsical designs. Thank you so much. Have yourself a wonderful day.